Oh my, it's Kellee White.
Hey, it's James Van Prague.
What are you up to?
Thinking about changing the world.
Me too. We should do a show together.
What would it be about?
Let me show you.
The James and Kellee Show. Hi.
Kellee!
Hi, James.
Hi, Kellee!
Hi, honey.
How you doing? I love
Happy
it.
Day of the Dead to you.
Happy Day of the Dead. Every day is dead for me, but thank you.
Oh, hey, you're speaking my language.
It's our kind of day.
Oh, my God. Did you have a good week?
I had a good week and strange weekend. I did a show on Saturday night at between 12 for Halloween, 12 to 2 in the morning on with Lisa Garr, coast to coast. And it was very strange because, well, no, it was a Friday night, Saturday morning. And I went right to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and woke up around 9 o'clock, 8:30 to walk my doggy. And I went around thinking it was Monday. I thought it was Monday.
Oh, my gosh.
And at 10 o'clock, a friend of mine comes over at 10 o'clock, got a massage at 10 o'clock on Sundays. And the chiropractor said, James, I said, what are you doing on a Monday? He goes, James, it's Sunday. I really, in my head, thought it was a Sunday. I mean, Monday. I thought I missed the whole day. I think because I wasn't used to being up that late.
Well, working from midnight to 2 in the morning, that's hard.
Hard work.
I can't even.
And the truckers. The truckers were great. Gotta say hello to the truckers. Yes.
Oh, but that's so good that you did that.
That's a hard job. That's a hard job.
It is a hard job. Oh,
and now you had an interesting weekend. You never told me about your weekend. How did it go?
I had a very interesting weekend, actually.
Yes.
I actually went to. I got my booster shot.
You got
my booster shot. So I got my booster shot.
No reaction.
No, at first I got a little woozy, just a little woozy, and then nothing. Apparently, the booster shot is half the dose.
Yes, that's right.
So I actually was fine. I mean, I'll say this: I rested all day yesterday, which was great, and I slept really well.
Good.
So
good. You look great.
Thank you. I feel good.
Good.
Yes. So today is a really interesting day too. Did you know today is National Gratitude Day?
Tell us more about that, Kellee.
How cool is that? It's National Gratitude Month. Actually, the whole month is National Gratitude Month.
Wow.
And what I think is so important about this is when we go through the astrology that we're going to go through about November's astrology, it's really all about transformation. And to me, the best way to lead through transformation is to have gratitude for everything. And it opens the door for everything, doesn't it, James?
It's true. It's really, really true. To take the time out and to really have gratitude, appreciation, gratitude every day. I try every day to try to do that because in every little way too, to help someone in some way, to give something to someone, to open someone's eyes, to be kind to someone every day. Even on the telephone, I do that with people. And I'll tell you, since this whole COVID thing, on the phone with people, and it could be anybody. It could be someone who's going to deliver something or a credit card company. And I'll tell you, they really appreciate the being nice. They love it. They say, thank you, be nice. Thank you.
Absolutely. And, gratitude is so good for our psychological health and our physical health, and particularly our spiritual health.
It's so true. Very, very true. Yeah,
very true. But it's so interesting, too, because today is World Vegan Day, too.
No, I didn't know that. World Vegan Day. Now, when did that? Wow.
And it actually runs a whole month of November as well, which is interesting.
And it's a harvest time, and it's vegan time. So okay, interesting.
Interesting time. So a lot of good things are going on.
I'm redoing my kitchen as we speak, so it's been interesting.
And how's that going for you?
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, good. Yes. Good.
I have no idea.
Oh boy.
Journey. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
My spices will be out this different alphabetical order than before.
Well, it might be time to get new spices too.
Probably. It's always good to check everything for expiration dates.
Absolutely.
And I didn't realize this like a year ago. I was like, someone said, you got to check expiration dates of everything. I knew that. Of course you do.
Oh, Don is a huge expiration date guy. It's like, did you look at the date? Yeah. And I'm like, no, I actually didn't. But
you're like me. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, But anyway, but let's talk about
What's
November
going on
astrology.
astrologically? What's happening, Kelly?
Oh
Because
my gosh.
today was a
No,
weird day for me. I don't know about anybody else, but it felt very strange.
oh my God. Well, this November is a huge transformational month. It's huge month. It's an intense month. We have something that we have so many things going on in this November. It's really complex. And
October was pretty intense, Kelly. And
right. And
September
well,
was
we're going into November and then December. So let's just say the next 2 months are pretty intense.
eclipse land.
We're going to talk about that, but November is one of the most intense months this year because there's a tight T square formed between Mars, which is a planet of war, Saturn, which is karma, and Uranus, which is chaos and surprises. And that T square it's always formed when there are two planets in opposition and a third planet that's squaring. And it lasts the whole month. So you're
And
going to feel
what is an opposition here, Kelly? Which
an
one
an opposition is when it's 180 degrees apart.
is that? Mars to Uranus or Taurus or
It's
Saturn?
going to be Mars, Saturn, and Uranus.
That's the opposition right there.
All right, it's it right there, and it's going to feel almost like a pressure cooker for the month. Just giving you a heads up,
If it
folks.
didn't yet, yeah.
If it didn't yet, it's going to make everybody a little edgy, and it makes us
Edgier? What?
edgier. It makes us like look at ourselves and humanity. You know, when during your show today, James, you talked about everybody coming together as opposed to being separate.
Yeah, it's
You
very
know,
true.
and that's
True.
I think it's one of those times that we're really going to be looking at that, at humanity and how to get along. So
Well, someone suggested my school in my soul care today, my in the show that I was mentioning the skit class that the courses that I have, which I will in a second here too. But one of them mentioned about us being separate. I said that maybe I should do a course on uniformity, being uniform,
wouldn't
coming
that be
together
great?
as one. Because we need to come together as one. We have to.
That
I
would
don't
be
like the
great.
separations. It's not natural for us to be separate.
Right.
Humans should be one. Humans need to be together. You can have
Right.
dislikes and not agree on things. That's fine. It keeps us different, but we've got to respect everyone. And everyone's gonna realize we're all the same. We just have a different type of belief systems, perhaps. But it doesn't mean that my belief system is better than your belief system. It's just my belief system, and
Right.
that's the way we got to look at it. One thing isn't better than the other. It's just different.
Mhm.
But we're all the same, and I don't care what people's skin color is, what language they speak, whether it doesn't matter. We're all the same. The blade is the same color. We're all the same. We got
Yeah.
to start celebrating that. But
Mm.
we're the same. We're different,
I
but
I agree. I totally
celebrate
agree with that.
differences. Yeah. So I'm
Mm.
gonna work on that. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. So in addition to this T square that's going to be make things intense, we have our first series of eclipses. We're going into eclipse season, and we're going to be in eclipse season in Taurus, Scorpio, and that all begins on the 19th, which I'm going to talk about
Okay.
in a minute. But eclipses represent like quantum leaps into higher states of consciousness, and so they tend to bring fated events. They also are geared to speed up our spiritual evolution,
Interesting.
right? So lunar eclipses, which is one we're going to be gearing up to on November 19th, they bring endings and they're considered points of closure.
Huh.
Solar eclipses bring new beginnings and points of new opportunity, which is really very interesting. So some of the aspects, and there's so many aspects to talk about in November, but I'm going to hit just the three that I think are really important for right this moment. Okay, and the first one is we have on November 4th, we have a new moon, and it's in Scorpio. Okay, new moon in Scorpio, and it opposes Uranus, and Uranus is retrograde in Taurus at this time, and also Scorpio, the new moon is in Scorpio, the sun is in Scorpio, and Mars is in Scorpio, all on November 4th, which is what is Thursday, I think. Yeah, Thursday.
Thursday.
So what this means is it's like people struggling for their independence. It's going to be time to express yourself, but it's going to be an intense time. So just watch how you express yourself because it could be explosive on that new moon.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
The moon is
something.
the emotions, and Scorpio is
Yeah.
a very emotional sign. So
A lot of emotions, James. A lot of emotions.
be very careful
It's
Thursday
a
because
full moon. I mean, a new moon. Yeah, it's a big one.
Scorpio tail can bite you, can sting you.
Right? but it also brings up unconscious things. It's
It's
kind of
it's the highest spiritual sign of the
it's
zodiac.
highest spiritual. So absolutely, this is where all of this is taking us all down the road to be in a higher spiritual place. No doubt about it. Um, Now, interesting enough, on November 5th, Venus goes into Capricorn. Now, normally Venus stays in a sign for about 30 days, but this is going to stay until March of 2022, 4 months. So let me explain a little bit of Venus in Capricorn because I think it's important here. It brings, so Capricorn is no nonsense, and Venus is the planet
Responsibility. No, no.
responsibility, and Venus is love, and love and beauty. But it brings in a romance. It brings security, longevity, stability. It makes us pay attention to being frugal. It makes us pay attention to money in a relationship. Now, here's what I do want to say about this. If your
Wait, Kelly,
relation
interrupted. Can we find the relationships at the sun?
Well, that's what I want to go with. So
Okay.
if you are in, yes, you can. It would be a
Okay.
practical relationship if you find it now.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? The person they'd be
That's fine at my
practical,
age. Yeah, go on.
right? But if you're in a healthy relationship, that's great. But if you are in an affair, I just want to say this. If you're having an affair or about to have an affair or in the middle of an affair, that's going to make this time very challenging because the person you're having the affair with is going to want you to leave your spouse because of this practicality thing. And you might be thinking, no, I'm not going to. So it could be a whole game changer for relationships that are not out in the open. I'll say it like that. Yeah. It's a very intense time for relationships. And I could go on and on about the squares that are coming up, but we'll do that another time. But I do want to talk about November 19th. And that's the last thing I want to talk about, which is a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus.
I'm
And
gonna be
this
back
is
next week, so we can talk about
we'll be
that.
back next week and we'll talk about it. But it's a big deal, this eclipse that's coming up for us, because it's going to help us. It brings a lot of change for our lives.
Eclipse the 19th or full moon?
It's a full moon lunar eclipse on
Wow.
the 19th. It's a
Wow.
big deal because it starts a whole new pattern
Wow.
of Taurus Scorpio as opposed to the Gemini Sagittarius. Yeah, it's 2 years of that. Oh,
Wow.
this is an important month.
Wow.
So there you
Wow.
go. We'll talk more about it on my Thursday show, and then next week we'll talk about it, James.
Yeah, 'cause my head is
It's
spinning.
I know, I know. So,
Wow.
I get it.
Wow.
So let's
Wow.
talk about Day of the
Day
Dead.
of the Dead, or All Saints Day in some religions. I grew up Catholic, and it was All Saints Day.
What does that
Which is,
mean exactly, All Saints Day?
I never really understood All Saints Day,
Oh,
but I assume you pray for the saints and they help you. All
okay.
Saints Day, and then there's All Souls Day, which is Day of the Dead. All Souls Day, praying for souls that were in purgatory when we were Catholic, which means you pray for them, they go to a higher level. It's interesting,
Mm,
isn't it? So, and Day of the Dead, from my experience of knowing my limited experience and knowledge of it, is celebrating those who passed to their side. And it's not just, it's several days. It's like Halloween to the 2nd of November. And there's altars that are built, and there are parties that are done, and there's some people make incredible monuments to people that pass over, putting people's photographs all around the monuments, and it's pretty big all around the world. Mexico, I know, probably the biggest, maybe in Latin America's
yeah.
countries,
And South America,
South America as
they
well.
talked about it. It used to scare me, James, until I started doing some research on it.
It's the skulls scared me, but it's just the
Yeah.
opposite. They show the opposite effect on you. It's a good thing, and it's supposed to bring you luck, of course. Good luck. So,
Mhm.
what did you find in your
Well,
research?
I found that it's supposed to, we celebrate the person in our life that's passed away, and that you invite that person to come, and their favorite foods will be. In fact, there's a really cool bread that they make. Renee, can you show us that bread, which I thought was so neat? It's kind of reminiscent of challah
Wow,
bread, but
yeah, it's
it's
like
a like a yeah, it's like challah bread. But it's got sweet on top, and then those are bones. They actually make bones, and as James said, they have the skeletons up there which are representative of our loved ones, and they invite the loved ones. Sometimes, James, they open the windows and the doors to invite that spirit in.
oh yeah, they use candles. They also many times at the table they'll have an empty seat and a plate ready for them for their place right there to eat with them. So
Yes,
and they are there. I mean, it doesn't take one of the human days that they're coming only on this day. They're around us all the time, but I
right.
think it's more for the human to celebrate, to remember them. And I think a great way of remembering them, and let's talk about this the other day, is many different things. For instance, celebrate them by doing something in your life that they've always wanted to do in their life, right? You know, making maybe one of their wishes fulfilled.
I love that idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and making a list of ways that they taught you, things they taught you that you wouldn't have known if you
Yeah.
hadn't interacted with them in your life, whether it was a child, baby, child, a grown up,
Right.
friend, you know, a loved one.
I've had a lot of spouses that have died that they'll tell me in a reading, tell my wife she's got to go back. She's got to go on that cruise.
Yeah.
Like they would all have had tickets to a cruise, and the wife is like, no, I don't want to. And he's like, no, you got to go.
What about the other night, Kelly, when I did my demonstration and the
Oh, let's talk about that.
and things that
Wow.
came through, and it was a girl's husband who hung himself in the
Yeah.
backyard
Mhm.
of the house, and
It was a really important reading.
really
That was a
important reading.
really important.
Really had some
Mhm.
incredible evidence, and he was very, very sorry about the whole thing, and
Mhm.
it was really amazing. And then someone else came through, and it was her father,
It was
and
her father, and her father had
her
died like
mother two
for her
weeks
mother
prior,
a week before.
week before. And the
And
mother was sitting in the kitchen, and because he
mhm.
talked about mopping the floor, he was watching her mop the floor
Yep.
right before the show started.
Yep.
And the mother comes on, she's, I was just mopping the floor. We were just talking about him. And
That
that's
was extraordinary, and I really believe that you saved that family because that was a extraordinarily difficult situation that that
that was
family found themselves in.
two deaths within a month. I mean, that was
Yeah,
pretty
that's a
insane.
lot, and the way the person left was rough. I mean, you were so great with that family. There was another man that you were really great with. It
I
looked
think his
like
name was
he was
Paul. He
his
lost his
name was
wife.
Paul. He lost his wife, and this is was clearly not his thing. He
No,
was
he was a
must
very
have been
left brain
shocked. Oh,
engineer, mechanic. So they're always around you. You know, not just
right.
like Day of the Dead. They're always around us all the time.
Yes. That was amazing. And my favorite though was the woman that in the lime green pantsuit.
She was fabulous. She was great. She loved her outfit. She loved to dress up. She loved her
Mhm.
dresses, loved her jewelry, very proper. Had her hair done. I think it was on Tuesdays or Thursdays. Had her hair done, had it looked just right. And then she said something about, and then you wanted me to wear those pantsuits. And you dragged me to EJ Corvette's, whatever it was, a Corvette store. And I think it was like 68. And you forced me to get me
Right.
that lime green pantsuit to her daughter, who was understood everything she was saying, but it was so
Right.
detailed. She was so funny.
It
She
was
was a real card.
hysterical.
She was a real card. It was great.
Oh, that was so great because our loved ones are always with us,
They're
and
always with us. It's
they're
just
always
the
with
Day of the
us.
Dead is they just celebrate them and celebrate in ways you never expected. How have they changed your life? You know, the dead always leave
Right.
gifts behind, but we always have to have the courage to open up that gift and find out what's inside for us because
So true.
it's
So I
really
have a question here from this Mark Brevard asked this question. He said, "Do we always cross right over, or do some spirits remain earthbound until they are ready to fully transition?"
so. This is very interesting because I was just answering this Friday night, Saturday morning when I was on the show with Lisa Gar.
Okay.
It was the same question. And what came up, which is really how I answered it, which listen, there are different thoughts about this. There are some thoughts that I've talked to mediums and they've said, well, we're the earthbound ones because we're down here, we're earthbound, we can't go on. And there are those who say, well, why would they stay here? Because there's a spirit world right there. Their loved ones are there. That's home. And they know that. So why wouldn't they? And I believe that too. But I also believe there could be an aspect, which I did a show on called Ghost Whisperer, where there might be an emotional component left behind. And I know from people's mindset that the mind is the soul's mind. And within that mindset, if there's a mother who dies in childbirth, in her mind, she might think, I've got to be closer to my kid here on the
Yes.
earth than
Hmm.
in the spirit world. And that's what she might stay there. Or a man who was going to work was hit by a train. And he might realize that out of his body, might realize, my wife doesn't know I'm dead and she doesn't know where the life insurance policy is. I got to tell
Oh,
her. Or another one could be someone who was raised very religiously, and when they pass out of the body, they feel I can't go to that light or tunnel because I'll go to hell because of the things I've done. So
mm,
there are all those different things. And I learned that with Marianne Winkowski from Ghost Whisperer. She was an expert we had on earthbound spirits. And she used to actually go around restaurants, and I was with her in houses and tell you and around the Universal lot, we did this. It was pretty
wow.
amazing. And she'd tell me who was haunting it, who was sitting there, and who was sitting there, and what they needed. And many times when I was witnessing when she did this, and this is what the spirit wanted, we told them we would do it, and they left.
Wow.
So I think about the mindset many times. It's the same thing with us. I mean, if someone doesn't believe, there is such a skeptic, and they don't believe in this. And even if you give them great messages, they still might not believe. It's where their mind is set at. It's very true. The story I told the other night, which I'll tell again, I've told it here, but it's a great story that really demonstrates it very well. When I was giving a reading, you've heard this many times, to giving a reading to a girl in an audience, and her aunt came through and speaking about things that the aunt knew about her. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw a spirit man coming toward me, and his arms were folded. And I knew that it was this girl in the audience, her father would pass over. I just knew it. And I said telepathically, I said, do you want to communicate with her? And he said, with his arms folded, why would I want to do that? I didn't believe in this in life. Why would I believe in it now? And he watched the process of the communication, and he could see how she was changing. And then he tried it out. And I'm sure the guides pushed him to do this. I'm sure they did. And they pushed him to, and he tried it. And it was incredible. He got through great messages, and it freed him up. It freed his mind up. He said, I love you to his daughter. He was never able to really say, I love you to her. And it was just an amazing experience for everybody in the audience, and only them. And it freed him up to do other things, to go to other levels and realize there are other vistas to see and other things to experience. So that was nice. So
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So if they have a fixed idea in their head, then they may stay for a bit.
Stay, be in a space for a mindset for a little bit. But there are always those in the spirit world, they're what we call spirit rescuers, or those who help them over. You know, I think that more of us tend to go over than stay behind. I really do.
Yeah, me too.
I really do. I met Princess Diana when she left, and I was going to give her a reading actually, and she came back afterwards. You know, I think it was months afterwards, and I was in contact with her, and she said I had a chance, I had a choice. I was above my body. I was really, and she was into mediumship for years, and astrology and psychics. It was, and she was warned 3 different times. 3 different practitioners told her not to go to Paris. It's interesting, you know. They said, don't go. Then it's going to be end of August, beginning of September. Don't go. And that's exactly what happened. I was supposed to give her a reading before that. It didn't happen.
Wow.
And when she had a choice to go back to go back into the body or to be in the spirit world. And because she was alive when they put her in that ambulance, you know that.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. And really, what she knew that she thought I could help my boy more from the other side than I could here in this earth. And she was right. And she has. I believe she has. And I don't think the Queen is going to be around much longer, by the way. I know she's not feeling well, but I think she's kind of on 1 foot out the door. Yeah, I just got that feeling with her. I think she's done. I think she's had it. I don't think she wants to be around. I don't know.
Well, that would be a big change for this November.
That makes sense to me. Then there you go. And she's a Taurus.
Right on that point.
There you go.
That could be a
I think that's it.
A big deal. I'm telling you, it's going to be a big change
I think
for that.
A lot of people are going to go out in November. I think a lot of people.
Yeah. I've always thought of November as a day, not just because it was Day of the Dead, but I've always thought of it as a transitional month.
It's Kellee, you know, it has been. And I since I've started this work 40 years ago, November 1st through February, toward the end of February, it's transition time.
Completely.
Transition time. I was known that. I lost both my parents during that time. A lot of elderly passed at that time. A lot.
Yes.
It's an exit point. It's exit points.
It's an exit point. Yeah. Interesting.
Big exit point. Probably the biggest of the year.
So if we talk about the transition of death, you know, and to explain to people what happens in that process. So when your last breath.
Yeah, so everything is breath, really. Breath is life. And really, it's interesting because I wrote about this in Talking to Heaven, Alzheimer's, dementia, that sort of thing. People wonder what happens. And it's hard to make a blanket statement or explanation because everybody's experience is different. But as a whole, I will tell you that people are usually aware when they're in the hospital bed or in a bed laying down there in a coma. They're usually aware on some level what's going on. And I know my father was very aware. I saw his head above his body out here when he was in a coma. So I know that they're aware. I told that story about Alice about Audrey Meadows when I helped her over. And and she passed the next morning, and then I went to help her over, and next morning she'd passed. And before I left her hospital room, the bed, I turned, there was a smile on her face. She had that smile. Interesting. I mean, so they do hear us. They're very, very aware of things that go on. Again, depending on their belief system, I think the best thing we could do, and end of life doulas don't get the celebration they need. There should be more of them because we can help coming into this world. What about leaving this body? We can help you coming here, but leaving, we should get just as much help from the living part of people. And it's just, and I've been around it, you've been around it, I used to work in a hospital. It's easing their mind. It's
Hmm.
easing them. And I can say that before they helped her over, and it wasn't
Yes,
even
you
in
did.
person. It was in
Hmm.
another level of awareness with her, a meditative level. And it helped her. I really helped her because the mind continues on. It's the
Right.
body that gets messed up, but the mind is very alert, very aware.
Hmm.
So if you can help them that way and just let them know it's okay. As I said with Debbie, it's like a feather. You just breathe in and slowly breathe out like a wave, and just ride that feather, ride that. It's very calming and very soft. We do it every night we go to sleep. We leave our
Right.
bodies every single night we go to sleep. In this case, we're just more aware of it. We're aware of leaving the body. I had that near death experience. Maybe I've had
Right.
near death
Hmm.
experience where they were of leaving the body. It's painless.
It's
There's no pain
painless. Yeah.
at all. No pain at all
Yeah.
with death. It's something to look forward to. It's a very natural process. Happens.
Right.
We've done it millions of times before. So
It's interesting. My father said right before he passed, he said, "I'm going to fly out now, babe."
I'm gonna fly out now, babe.
So interesting. So here's a question from, I think this is a good question from, where did it go? I just had it. It goes so quickly here. Um, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It was about suicide. Oh, is suicide, when you pass from suicide, is that, how does that work?
Oh, well, it all depends on again, same thing, an individual. I mean, I've had many hundreds of suicide cases.
Yeah.
I remember one where they're pretty aware. They're all aware when they leave the body, no doubt. Whether they shoot their heads off or whether they hung themselves, it doesn't.
Right.
They're aware. There's no pain involved. So even if someone
Hmm.
takes a gun to their head, they're blacked out before that impact happens.
Hmm.
And the same thing in a car accident, say,
Right.
or jumping from a cliff. The God, this wondrous way, the universe is created like a shut-off valve, is the way I can explain it humanly.
Right.
Is and then they don't feel anything until they're out of the body and they're looking down saying, what happened? Oh my
Right.
God, what happened? And they go, oh my God, I actually did it. I actually pulled the gun. Or actually, I remember this one guy, Peter, his name was, this was many years ago. I might have told you the story. When I was doing individual readings and in Hollywood, when I was living in Hollywood. And this lady came to me, I knew nothing about her. I'm sitting there, and she's a lovely lady from South Africa. I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, I'm aware in my mind's eye, I'm seeing very much clairvoyantly a man going to his backyard. His name is Peter. So there's a man named Peter. He showed me he walked up backyard, and there's a big oak tree. And he climbs up, puts a rope around. I said, and he's going to hang himself. And he does. And then I felt like I felt that death condition very clearly. I felt
Mm.
popping at the top of my head. And the first expression that I had, first, it was because, oh my God, my parents are going to find me like this. And it's usually the people left behind that they worry about
Right.
the people who are going to left behind, which happens. That kind
Right.
of, yeah. So we can help them by sending them love and prayers, and that will
Hmm.
help them. If you send them love, it helps them to love themselves. It helps them to
Right.
heal themselves with that condition.
And they don't go to hell. They don't
There's
go to hell.
no such thing as hell. That's
No.
fictitious.
Hmm.
There is no hell. Hell is what you make it with your thoughts. So if they're obsessed about how they treated somebody and how badly and they left behind, that can be their hell. But if we send them love and prayers and forgiveness, they can
Absolutely.
forgive themselves. We can send them to heaven.
Well,
What was
it's
that?
so interesting because you teach a class. I want to talk about this. So in this transformation time and
Yeah.
with the month of gratitude, I mean,
Yeah.
forgiveness has got to be a huge thing. And you have one of your classes, which blows me away, is called Forgiving the Unforgivable. And I
Yes.
know you're doing a,
I have a sale going on right now. It's the biggest sale we have every year, and it's a spirit
Mhm.
sale. We call it. It's 25% off, and there's a code. There's a code. Spirit 25. It's 25% any course certification course in the school, JVP School of Mystical Arts, any course. Spirit 25 is a code you usually check out. And I was talking about today, this morning, all the different courses there were. I was going into details, but yes, there's some great courses in there. One is Forgive the Unforgiven, and I mean every one of these courses are thorough. Just like I check things out and research, and many of them are channeled. And I personally, my family life had a situation where I couldn't forgive somebody for years,
Mm.
and I had to go and look why couldn't I? And I found all these different reasons, excuses, scenarios, different things came up, childhood things, traumas, and I was able to see that from another person's point of view, another perspective. That really helped me to
Yeah.
forgive, and we need to forgive because if we don't forgive, it blocks the energy from flowing through us. Because let's
Yeah.
say it's an emotional blockage,
Hmm.
and I've done many readings where people you have
Oh
hearts are
yeah.
blocked, the center is blocked because they can't forgive. It's still in their heart. Their heart is aching,
Well,
and when
what
you
happens is their vital life force gets stuck. And then
exactly,
everything that they're going to do going forward is dependent on that energy that's stuck. So why can't
exactly.
this happen? I'll tell you why. Because you're not open. Why are you not open? And you could go back and back and back and then trace where it is. But I think that the idea of forgiving the unforgivable in a class is phenomenal.
It's a great one. It's a
And
great one. And you're
it's a
by
great
yourself.
class.
It's by yourself on the computer. It always be with you. All these classes are by yourself.
Mhm.
I have 20, 35 videos or whatever. Each class is a different amount of videos and homework and exercises and meditations. But it's a very, very good one. It's an excellent one.
Well, and the other one that, I mean, they're also interesting, but life after loss, because so many of our viewers have had loss.
Life After Loss is I just had my book. Here it is. No, that's another book. Um Healing Grief, my book Healing Grief, which is a great book. It's my
Great
third
book.
book I wrote. And it's really a course based upon that, how to grieve in a constructive way and in a healthy way. And really what grief is. Grief is not just for the dying, which it is, we
Right.
grieve, but it's things that are over in our lives too. To say goodbye to certain
Right.
things. Like
Oh my
we
gosh, it
move
could be a
to
divorce, it could be
a
a
career change,
career, could be a home, could be anything.
say goodbye to your old kitchen furniture. I'm making the yeah, I'm
But you know
grieving
what?
right now.
That's true. But that's true.
No, it's true. It's things that you become used to. It's throwing out
Yes.
old clothes, things,
Right.
cleaning things out of your house you're an emotional attachment to. There's all this grief with all these little things, and we've got to honor that grief. And
Hmm.
so this course is about honoring the different types of griefs in our life in a healthy way, and
That's
and
great.
realize what it's teaching us. So that's what that course is about.
That's,
It's
I
good.
think
That's
that's
a good
great.
course. It's a good
So
one.
Steve K has a question here. Just as we have different spiritual levels in life, do we have different levels in death?
Yes, different levels, different realms,
Yeah.
spaces, and places. There are different realms. And the Bible says, "My Father has a house with many mansions," which means really the various spiritual levels that exist based upon your thoughts, words, and deeds. So, if you're a very high-minded, loving being, you'll go to that level, which is that which you gravitate to of that's made of those principles.
Right.
And
Right.
and if you don't, and you're just someone who's greedy, egomaniac, into hurting people, you'll go on that level. And
Absolutely.
like, so you'll have other people who are just like that on
Hmm.
that level.
Hmm.
And you cannot go up until you've earned it by doing loving things, kindness,
Right.
compassion, forgiveness.
Right.
You can go down, sure, you can go down, just like
Yep.
spirits comes down to us, they come down, the ones not. And remember, like our guides are also being fed by beings that are higher than them, and then those that
Right.
are higher than them. So it's like a step me down kind of
Right.
process.
So it's
So
always growing and growing and growing.
always expanding and growing, and yeah, I mean, and yes, very much so. Very,
I
very, very.
I have to answer this question. This is a good one. Karen Bandittini Roberts. She says, "Hi guys, you answered a question a few months ago of why I have dreams. I'm angry at my mom. She has passed, but I'm still having those dreams, and she's mean to me, and I'm crying and angry at her. I hate it. It's so troubling to me." Okay, Karen, this is a great month for you. It's a great month. You really have to look. You have to look at your anger towards her. Really, it's your dream. It's your dream, honey. So. I have a feeling you're going to have to be, step into it a little bit.
She's gonna have to
And
own
it's
it.
okay. Hmm?
She's gonna have to own it.
Own it. Yeah. Yeah. And just go into it. It's okay. It's okay to be angry. And then work through it.
True. It's very true.
Mm.
I'm trying to find a class for
Oh,
her.
good. Good. Please.
Because
Please.
it's that's a good one because yeah, it's a good one.
Sandra Coral, do we keep the same spirit guides throughout our life? For me, yes. James, no.
Why did you say that?
Because you have new guides. You have new guides all the time.
No, we all do. We all do. We change guides. If we have certain guides that will stay with us through a lifetime and lifetimes. There are those that stay
Hmm.
with us lifetimes, one lifetime, and there are guides that change depending on the type of work that we're involved in, the
That's
new work
true.
we're involved in. Yeah, I guess I have different guides. So I'm doing a lot of different work. Garden guide now. I have a house guide. Probably I don't know Hazel, but no, we do. And but yeah, I guess I well, yeah. I don't know. They change, but they it depends on what we're doing. I think we draw that to us.
Absolutely. So this is a good question. Carol
Excuse me,
Herta.
Charlie, one thing, like the lady who just asked about the class, who's having
Oh,
the
good.
dream problem.
Yeah.
28 days to total transformation would be the course you should take.
Oh,
28
perfect.
days of total transformation.
Mhm.
That way you go within yourself, see what traumas are still there from your childhood. I know it's something from your childhood that you and your mother had that maybe mom didn't resolve something with your mother and you're
Yep.
still holding on to it. I bet that's it. But 28
Yeah.
days total transformation would be good for you. Okay.
Yeah, and I liked what you said earlier too in your show this morning or this afternoon. You talked about how you can also view from the mother's perspective or the father's perspective what was their life like. It and what
Exactly.
that does is it opens up a dialogue and it opens up compassion and empathy
Understanding.
and
Understanding.
understanding.
Seeing why they did a certain thing, why they behaved a certain way, because from this perspective, that's what now if you were in that
Right.
position, you might have done the same thing. So it's
Right.
looking at it from all different ways, and then you have a better understanding of why they acted out a certain way.
Right. Okay, so Carol Herta Rodriguez Fowler, can you connect with someone immediately after they pass?
I think it depends on how they pass. I think it depends on how they pass. So if they're busy passing with something traumatic, and they're in that middle stage of not, like we talked about Princess Diana before.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to call her in right away because she's probably still in the process of working on
Right.
what's going on, what's happening. So, that being said, again, it depends on the mindset, depends on the way they died, their belief system after they've passed over.
What's
Um,
the story with Gordon Higginson? That was a great story. Wasn't with his mother or with he
well,
was
I had one where I was going to a
okay.
demonstration,
Okay.
and a girl I brought through a girl's mother in the audience,
That
and she said, "My mother's not dead." I said, "Oh, she's right here," and I gave her information. She goes, "She just died." She goes, "Well, then it must have just happened," and it happened from when the girl left the house to when she came for my demonstration. That passed away.
wow.
We found that during the break, the intermission, her mother indeed passed. Now, I would never have done that, but the mother came right through to say, "I passed," and here I
Right.
am.
Which is amazing. So that's,
So
that can happen.
that did happen. It happened. I know
Right.
once I used to do 30 people in my living room when I first started. I remember it was a Saturday night, and a man's partner came through. He died of AIDS, and he came through. He died Thursday night, and he came through Saturday night, 2 nights later.
Wow.
I talked about the path on the doorway, the lights going to the doorway, that they just finished changing the pathway lights the day before he died. And so that's what
Unbelievable.
happened. Yeah, so they can.
Wow.
It depends how prepared they are,
Yeah.
what their belief system is, how great a communicator they are. It really
Yeah.
depends on how open we are.
Wow. So Susie
I
writes, says,
see.
"Hi, James and Kelly. I understand we are always greeted by our loved ones when we pass, but if we are on a different spiritual level than some, will we be reunited with those who were not believers?"
Certainly, certainly. So if you're a believer, you can go to those people who are not believers. You can see them for sure. I don't think love is really what the answer is. So
Yeah.
that energy of love is still there. If they love you, you'll be with them. Doesn't mean you're going to hang out with them all the time, perhaps, because their
Right.
belief system is different. But that love still continues. You'll still see them. They
Oh,
might not be
absolutely.
comfortable in that certain place that you are, and that makes sense here on this earth. We all live in different cities and states and countries, and some
Right.
places we're very comfortable, and other places we're not. It goes along with the couple. This happens all the time. The couples that were married, and then one of them passes over, and the remaining one on the earth marries somebody else. And this has happened to me. I went. There's a
So
lady.
many.
She was married 5 times. And I swear to you, it was one of the funniest experiences. I did a reading for it, and I don't know how I got to this reading. It was something private readings back in Studio City, California. The lady was in her bed, and she was live in bed. Maybe she was terminal, and her daughter. I got to get reading on her bedside, and she could communicate. She was fine. And I remember bringing through one, and then two, and then another, and five husbands I brought through. I'm like, well, this is a joke. 5 husbands. And one was Sherman, one was Oscar, one was Mark. I forget. So it was weird. And then
did
it
did she
was a
have a
year later.
favorite?
Well, I, a year later, she came in to me. The daughter told me she passed,
Mm.
and the mother came through. I gave her the daughter. The mother said, she said, "James, you got it all wrong, and I'm just disgusted with you." This is her personality. You can imagine. So loved her. I said, "Well, you mean discuss with me?" She goes, I said, I just want to know what husband you're with. And the daughter did too. And she said, "Oh, the hell with them all." She goes, I'm with my old boyfriend from high school. We never got to really experience each other. And she goes, "I'm really upset with you." I said, "Why?" She goes, "Because you didn't really tell me how great it was here. You never told me it
Wow.
was going to be this great. When you said it was great over here, you didn't tell me it was going to be this great."
Wow.
That's what you
That's
said.
an amazing thing to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, it was great. She was great. Yeah, well, 5 husbands. She wasn't with any of them. And it goes with that. I've had many times they said, well, there's an affinity that you have that you go
Yeah.
to that person. So let's say your parents married 50 years. They wouldn't necessarily want to be together on the other side. They can see each
Right.
other. It's like we can see each other, but they
Right.
don't have to live together. They don't have to be together. They do their own thing, or they can share life together over there. Or they have new partners if they want to. It all depends on the soul, what the soul connection is. See?
So true. Susan Wenzel, let me see, are there souls floating around the astral plane that don't know they have died, and how do they get help?
Wow. Well, I would say there are those floating around the Earth plane that they call them human beings, and they don't realize that they're alive. Kelly and I talk about this all the time.
Oh yeah, walking stem brains. Yep.
And they're all around us. They're all around us. So it makes sense if they leave the body. It could be those on this level. I know the
Mm,
astral plane, whatever you want to call it, that they're unaware they're dead. But I think that maybe exists. But I do believe there are those that help them over.
yeah. Oh yeah.
There's
Oh,
a
I
great
agree.
testimony of light by Helen Greaves. And
Mm.
that's a very good book about a lady, the story in England, and she didn't realize she was passed, and used to go to this house, this cabin all the time, and used to start her fire, her daily routine, and putting the kettle on, having the fire in the wood, and in the fireplace, and making this and that, taking a walk, and one day she realized that someone said they kept trying to get to her that she had passed, and she didn't understand what they were talking about until one day. Then I guess a friend of who she had known very well in her life came with this other person and said, "Hello." She goes, "Beatrice, what are you doing here?" She goes, "Well, I moved on, and you moved on." She goes, "No, I'm back at my house." She goes, "No, in your head you are. In your mind you think you are, but you're actually not. You're outside of that. Come with me and I'll show you." And she showed her all these different things, Beatrice, how she could think of a place and go and float there, be there, instead of walking there. And she showed her all these wonderful things. And she goes, "How remarkable. I'm free to leave." She goes, "Yeah, you can leave anytime you want. Your mind kept you chained to
Wow.
that little place. Your mind kept you chained, but you're free to go anytime you want."
Oh, interesting. Oh my God. Elizabeth Robles, if you dream about a past loved one, is that astral traveling?
Well, what do you think, Kelly?
No, not necessarily. I mean, if you dream about, well, often if we're dreaming about a loved one, we are with them. So,
Yeah,
and we're going to do a show on astral projecting and
that's
astral
true.
traveling.
Yeah,
But
I do remember, like Kelly said, I think it's when you're with them on the other side. We all go to the spirit world at night and go to sleep.
yes.
And it's their loved ones, and sometimes we remember that experience in a conscious way when we
Mhm.
wake up, and I call those crossovers because we're right with them. It seems so real. So that's different than astral projection. That's it's a
Yeah,
little bit different.
a little different. So, visual memories asks when people pass unexpectedly after being out of their,
What does that mean?
pardon me,
What does that mean? You
when
mean,
they
oh,
pass,
the
when they,
human doesn't expect them, or they don't.
yes.
On a soul level, they might know. On a human level, they might not.
Ah,
Continue.
okay. Can they sense their loved ones? Can they see them? Can they feel their family's emotions?
Oh, definitely. Oh,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Yeah, you're still the same. You don't stop, like, shut down. You don't become shut when you leave the body. It's just the opposite. You don't shut down. You become alive.
Right,
You become so
right.
much more alive that the essence, the effervescence, just like there you are. You're a part of everything and everyone, and you're
Right.
overwhelmed with this feeling of love and compassion, and you want your loved ones to know that you're alive.
Mm,
And it's just so, I don't want to judge anything, but the older I get, the more the more readings I do, I become more and more aware of how difficult it is for the spirit people when they become figment of people's imaginations, when they think that people don't think they exist, and
mhm.
they do exist. They throw them in the ground, they burn them. That's not
Right.
them. That's not them.
Well,
That's how
well,
disrespectful is that?
well,
Yeah,
that's why I think that Day of the Dead is so important, actually, because then you bring
exactly.
them back in and you cook their favorite meals. It makes them feel a part of it, a
Yeah,
part of
that's right.
life
That they haven't
here.
left.
But
They're
they
still
haven't
part of
left.
they're still part of your life, which they are. And
Mm.
I agree with you, Kelly. It's a great holiday to celebrate that because there's no death. There is no death.
No.
It's a
I
great
love this comment. Deb Cade said, I knew when my mother passed away, her spirit passed right through me. I was in another room and I told my husband that my mom just passed. And then there was a knock at the door, and my sister said that mom was gone. And that's when they knew. But that's so true. I know that experience of when the energy just passes right through into
yeah.
your system.
It
It's
happened to me.
unbelievable. Me
Yeah,
too. It happened to you too?
my mom did, yeah, well, she wasn't it was Trinity had passed over, and it was about a week afterwards, and I was in LA. I went back to New York for a funeral, and this is how poor I was. I went to Macy's to get a jacket for the funeral.
Oh,
I got the jacket and went back to New York and I had the funeral and back to LA and I returned the jacket for the money. The money to pay my rent. So I
oh
returned
my God. I bet you look great though.
yeah, it looked pretty good. It was all right, yeah. But and I was working at a desk job, and I remember it was like in the afternoon. I'm sitting there reading something, and all of a sudden I look at my mother comes right through me, like, and I freaked out. It was before I was a medium, and I freaked out. And I ran out
Wow.
out of the room crying. I didn't know what to do.
Well, it's scary. And that
It's scary,
energy would hit you and it would be sad. I mean, you'd be, you know,
overwhelming, overwhelming.
overwhelming. That's the word. Did I ever
Yeah.
tell you that my mom and I were at a Neil Diamond concert where Don was performing, and we were sitting there, mom and I were sitting there watching the show, and then all of a sudden my mom and I both felt this energy that went right out of us, through us and up and out of us, and we both looked at each other and we both said at the same time, "My uncle has just died." And
Wow.
my mom's brother, my uncle, had just died, and we felt the energy pull, and we were at the Forum. I mean, and he was in
Wow.
New Orleans. I mean, what are the odds of that? Just pulling that energy pulling out.
It's just like the movie, which I saw the other day again, Ghost, with Whoopi
Yeah.
Goldberg, who I love. And then she was channeling, whoa, and it was expressed
Yeah.
laughter. There is part of that sense, that feeling sometimes, for sure.
Oh, it's so
Yeah,
true. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Okay. So Chris, Laramie, Sally, do we always incarnate to Earth until we learn all of Earth lessons from there and then move on?
Well, I don't know. I think that there are many schools. Earth is one of the schools you learn a lot from if you want to take the opportunities to learn, and you'll take
Yeah.
advantage of the classes, or and you can move on. But I think there are many, many millions of schools. So Earth
Oh,
is just
this,
one of
yeah.
many.
And I want to say that, if you have a long contract here, some people might
Some people
have a
might.
long
Some,
contract
I
here.
know I do.
But our contract's almost up, right, James?
I was responsible for millions of deaths, I think, in one life, in many lifetimes as a general, and I came back, I
Right.
think, to heal millions. Yeah, so that's a long, but we do what we have to do to.
Absolutely. So this is a really interesting question from Amy Ban Craver. Do souls have a preference between burial or cremation? Great question.
They could care less.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
They could care less, except I will say the fathers, many of them are pissed off for the money being spent. I will tell you that. I've had that so many times where they've come through and say, why would you waste that money? You wasted that money. You could have done so much more with that money. I've had that happen at least 30 times through the years. Oh, yeah. And it's always the women always want to know if let's say they're laid out. They still do wakes, what dresses they're wearing, how
Oh
do they
yeah. Yeah.
makeup, who sent the flowers.
That's
They don't
true.
care. It's a human thing. They don't really care about funerals either, by the way. It's the humans. That's all for the humans. They're free of it. They don't care about it. It's just they don't care. They really don't. So
So Deborah Back says, how do we know when our loved ones are around us?
well, I'm going to give everyone an exercise to do.
Ooh, good.
Okay. So tonight after our show, if you want to, what I'd like everybody to do is I'd like you to get a piece of paper out or a pad, a pen, and also because it's Day of the Dead, let's do this. There's going to be a photograph. I'd like you to have of one person. Don't put two or three because you're going to be too mixed up. Just put one photograph out. Okay, so let's pretend this is a photograph. This is a card I got. So
Okay.
let's pretend it's a photograph. I'm going to put the photograph down. And I'm going to do a couple of like light breathing exercises. So I'll maybe close my eyes and I'll just imagine as we breathe in, because we breathe unconsciously, really. So breathing in love, and you can use that as a light color, gold color, a purple color, violet color. And as I'm exhaling in my mouth, I let go of fear. Breathing in love, let go of fear. You love, let go of fear. And as you do that and you bring love brings you up to a higher level. So imagine that you're like maybe on an elevator and you're going higher and higher, or you're in a tree, you're climbing up this tree, or you're going up a mountain. Just with every inhalation, go higher and higher. And then what I want you to do is when you get to let's say there's a place you get to the top of the mountain, or you get to the top of the tree, or you get to the elevator and open up the top floor, whatever it might be, where you're sitting on a cloud, call for that loved one, the picture of that loved one. And then slowly open up your eyes and take the pen and a piece of paper and ask them a question. Ask them maybe, what are you doing on the other side? How do you spend your time over there? Or something you want to ask is simple. Don't keep it complicated. Be very simple. And I want you to hold the pen and just start writing. Don't think about writing. Just start writing. Whatever comes through to you, you might think you're making it up. Great. Just keep on writing. And what happens is it's called overshadowing. And they will slowly impress you even more and more to start writing. You might write faster. You might not write in your own handwriting, but do that and do that probably for about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, and you'll get a nice message from them, from that spirit. Well, also you might get a guide come through. It works. So for daily meditation exercise,
Oh, that's a really good one.
it works.
Um, wow. So this is a good question from Sarah Halstead. How long after the moment of death is the spirit still present? I had the blessing of being alone with my father's body for about 30 minutes after his death. It was peaceful and sacred. How about that?
Again, Sarah, I think it's different for every single experience, but I do believe that they are with us right there at that time. They do stay around the body for a little bit. When my father passed out of his body, and remember, they go into a place where there's no time. So there's no linear times. There's no measurement of time. It just is. So when he left, he came back within 5 minutes to me and he said, he saw my mother. He knew there was life after death. He was in a nice brown suit. He was 27 years old. He knew he had a sister he didn't know he had on the earth, which we all found to be true later on. So they're very aware of that. And they're also on many levels, it seems. So they are there for sure. And they're still very much around their loved ones. They're trying to say to them, I'm okay. I'm alive. There's no death. I'm not dead. I'm not in that body. I'm not in that body. Please, I'm not in that body. And they're behind us. They're screaming, I'm okay, okay. And we're so grieving and upset with that our mind is taken with the grief that we can't hear them or feel them. That's what I find out probably 85% of the time.
It's so true. It's so true because that when you're in grief, you kind of turn off so much, and they're trying to get to us so much.
It's like when you're reading, and I say you can't block
Oh,
them. You think you can block them, and the same
yeah.
thing. Yes, it is automatic writing. Yes, and it is automatic writing. It's a form of automatic writing, definitely. Ram Dass
Janet,
said,
yeah,
oh,
go ahead.
Maharishni had said that when disciples begged him to leave, he said, "Where can I go? It's just my body that falls away." Great one. Loved the explanation. It's very true. You stay, the body leaves. Very, very good, Janet. Love
Yeah,
that. Very, very true. Because all around us is heaven. Heaven is all around us.
right,
Right? It just
right.
emanates from us. It's just this blockage of this body, this carcass.
Remember my sister once made the comment, it's carrying around a suitcase,
An
your body.
overcoat. It's an overcoat. Oh, I've heard many times spirits say, "Oh, take that a winter overcoat off." It's so great. It's so great not to be held down with chains. My
Oh,
friend Olivia, my good friend Olivia, said, "Oh, if I know what it was like, now I would have done this years ago." She killed herself. She said, she was 85 years old. And she said, if I knew it was like this, I would have done this years ago. If I knew it was like this, I would have killed myself years ago. She said it in jest because she realized she had to do what she had to do. But she was so funny. And, and she was someone who studied for years with me. We used to go see healers and mediums and so forth. And she was the one who said when she walked into this like movie theater, her transition was she fell asleep and she was aware of walking into like a movie theater, a studio, and as people look at the screen, and she walks into the screen and she said, it was amazing. It was so animated. The flowers were becoming alive. They were opening up. It was just the most incredible experience. Colors like I'd never seen before. And there were all these people there to greet me, to welcome me. People I hadn't thought of in years. Even people that I didn't know that well, but I smiled to at once. They came to
wow.
greet me as well. They were all happy that I was back.
Isn't that
Yeah.
something? Let me ask you something. I had a dream the other night that was very real. I was on a train, but I wasn't supposed to be on the train, but I knew several people that were on this train that were headed uh, south, actually.
Well, my father, before he left,
Okay,
my mother was, this is an interesting story. My mother was bedridden for 10 years. And then my father was bedridden for 10 years. Isn't that interesting? How was that?
really?
And during that time, he said, I think part of that was guilt or whatever it might, who knows. But during that time, he had the dream of my mother on a train. And he was on a train. He goes, but you can't go. It's not your time to go on that train.
That's what they told me on this dream.
Yeah. So train is transition.
It is, right?
Going through a tunnel. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
transition. Yeah.
Wow.
It's like the Twilight Zone. I think there was an episode of the Twilight Zone by the train.
Oh my
Was
gosh.
that? That was it.
So Megan Prasado says, do people change after they transition? Great question. For example, if someone did terrible things on the earth, are they still that same way on the other side?
I'm going to say yes, they are until they learn
Yeah.
not to be that way.
Yeah.
So some learn quicker than others, just like on the earth, they learn. It's really important that we know down here the power of words, the energy of words, and how it can hurt people, and it really can hurt them. And you don't see the staining it does to someone until you pass over, and you see the stains you've left behind by the words that you've used,
Mm,
thoughts that you've had, acts that you did, ignorance that you threw. it really hurts people on levels, and you're like, and you're the one responsible for affecting all those
Right.
levels based upon those words or thoughts. So words are really, really important to be used in the right way. It's a responsibility to be on this earth. It's a
Right.
responsibility here.
Oh,
All of us have responsibility on this earth to be here.
so true. So Tammy Jackson says, "How do you know what your gift is? I've been told I'm a healer, but I don't know what to do with that information."
Good. So
Uh,
Tammy, what do you think you are? All
well,
right.
I was
What
going
are
to
you doing?
say, let's get your classes out, James, for this because
Get the classes out. I have a healing class.
Mhm.
I have a healing certification course, which would be good for you if you want to explore that. What I would strongly suggest that I have some meditation courses too. Oh, there you go. Save 25%. There you go. There's the code for everybody. You really should explore different disciplines to see which one you resonate with. So you might resonate more with psychic or intuitive work, or more healing, or more social work, for instance, more massage therapy, Reiki. I mean, it's all different modalities we should explore. Don't be limited by one, but there might be one that resonates stronger than others. But I think you should explore different ones. It's not right for me to say, oh, you're a healer or you're this. You should find
Right.
out for yourself.
Yeah.
I think you have all the abilities, but you got to find out which one you really resonate with your soul. How does your soul want to express itself?
Okay. And if anybody's interested in big change this month in November, James has the greatest courses in every area you can ever imagine. They're so fabulous. It would really help with transition. And this is a month of great change.
And that's why we're having this sale, which is amazing. The
It's
timing of it.
amazing. It's
When you
perfect
said that,
timing.
to me, I go, wow, the timing is perfect here, isn't it? Thanks, Spirit.
Perfect.
Divine timing. Oh,
Right. It's perfect.
there's
Especially
some.
with these eclipses that are coming. It's going to make a lot of change for people.
I have
So
an astrology course in there also, Kelly.
perfect. Take the
JP astrology,
astrology course and
like
that
astrology, different aspects of things. Talks about
Mhm.
moon, different types of moons. So it's all good. Debbie, it's not yours. Hi, Debbie. How do you cleanse your house good? Have tried different things. Have good spirits, bad spirits. Kelly, what do you think?
Well, I open up all the doors and windows. I open up everything. Now, some
Right.
people take out, sage and they walk around and all that. Just have happy thoughts, good thoughts. Prayers, blessings of anybody who's around that it's time for them to go. But and
I agree. I did that. I just did Saturday,
You
and
did.
I did, and I lit sage, and I went through around every window and every door and every crack of the house. But before I did that, I played lovely, beautiful music. I opened all the windows. I
That's
lit
perfect.
light, and I said prayers, and I just brought love into that house. And another thing I tend to do too is I'll meditate, where I bring light into that house,
Mm.
and I stay very grounded the whole house. And I bring light, and any heavy energies that are in the house are being pulled down to Mother Earth. Same thing I do in my morning ritual of cleansing my body. I also cleanse the house that way. And I've done it, and I've had people say to me, "What are you doing with the neighbors?" Would say, "What do you do with your house? Things look different here." I said, "Oh," or people come into my house and say, "Wow, the energy here is just otherworldly."
So so
You
unbelievable. Great
you were
energy.
here just
Oh,
recently
come on. It's fabulous
when
energy.
Shirley walked in, our
Oh,
friend.
Shirley just walked in and she said, "Oh, the energy here." She couldn't get over it. Yeah.
I mean, two steps in the door, she was blown away, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, the energy! Wow!" And you and I looked at each other like, because we knew she would be like, "But that was really amazing."
Totally. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, good music and sage. They're really liking that.
Remember, your thoughts are important. So keep your thoughts on a high
Mhm.
level. You're only the bad things because you're giving them bad. You're thinking they're bad spirits. You're giving that energy of
Right.
negativity, right? Play
Right.
positive. Everything is love.
Right.
Fear is human. Fear is made from humans, not spirit. You're love.
Oh my gosh. Well, and everybody enjoy Day of the Dead today and
Yes,
tomorrow. Still goes till tomorrow.
go so tomorrow. And do that little assignment. I think that'll help everybody in perfect timing to do it. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, James. Thanks,
Thanks,
Renee.
everybody. Thanks for Renee. Appreciate your help. Thank you, everybody. Nice to see everyone. New people too. Good. Spread the word.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
The James and Kelly Show.